Hello and welcome back. Well done everybody yesterday for completing your letters. We are going to move on to a new unit today, and the unit today and next week is going to be poetry, okay? And we're going to be looking at humorous poems, so poems that are slightly funny, okay? But before we get into it, let's have a look at our learning objectives. So our first one here is, can I listen to a humorous poem? Okay, so that we should all be ticking that one off, because I'm going to read a humorous poem in a bit and you're going to listen. Okay, so actually we should be ticking that one off straight away. Next one here, can I discuss and answer questions about a poem? So this is going to be our comprehension, our guided reading today. The next objective here, it says, can I read a poem? Okay, that's quite self-explanatory. Can you read a poem? Later we'll be asking you to read a poem yourself. And our last objective here is, can I discuss my preferences and make comparisons, which suggests we're going to read more than one poem and we're going to compare them and see what their similarities and differences are. But before, we are going to read a poem called Aliens Stole My Underpants by Brian Moses. So have a little listen to this and we'll get into the rest of the lesson afterwards.
Aliens stole my underpants. To understand the ways of alien beings is hard, and I've never worked it out why they landed in my backyard. And I've always wondered why, on their journey from the stars, these aliens stole my underpants and took them back to Mars. They came on a Monday night when the weekend wash had been done, pegged out on the line to be dried by the morning sun. Mrs. Driver from next door was a witness at the scene when aliens snatched my underpants. I'm glad that they were clean. It seems they were quite choosy, as nothing else was taken. Do aliens wear underpants? Or were they just mistaken? I think I have a theory as to what they wanted them for. They needed to block off a draft blowing in through the spacecraft door. Or maybe some Mars museum wanted items back from space. Just think, my pair of Y-fronts displayed in their own glass case. And on the label beneath would be written where they got 'em, and how such funny underwear once covered an earthling's bottom.
Now, I absolutely love Aliens Stole My Underpants. I think it's such a funny poem. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you find it funny? Did you not find it funny? I want to hear about your personal opinion on that poem. Okay, so what did you think of the poem? Pause the video and tell your adult at home. Brilliant. Now, whose point of view do you think that this poem is being told from? Is it being told from the aliens' point of view? Or do you think it's being told from somebody on Earth's point of view? I think it's somebody on Earth's point of view, because he says such things right at the end. He talks about him being an Earthling, and he said how the aliens stole his underpants. He used my, and also he said his next door neighbour, didn't he? So that suggests that it's somebody living on Earth. Now, I want to show you how boring that poem is going to be with me reading in a really dull and monotone voice. Okay, so have a listen to this version of the poem and compare it to the first time I read the poem. So once the poem's done, pause the video and compare the two poems and how they were read.
Aliens stole my underpants. To understand the ways of alien beings is hard. I've never worked it out why they landed in my backyard. And I've always wondered why, on their journey from the stars, these aliens stole my underpants and took them back to Mars. They came on a Monday night when the weekend wash had been done, pegged out on the line to be dried by the morning sun. Mrs. Driver from next door was a witness at the scene when aliens snatched my underpants. I'm glad that they were clean. It seems they were quite choosy, as nothing else was taken.
Well, that was boring, wasn't it? Now, let me read it with a bit more expression, and then I want you to compare both of the readings and see what you notice. Okay, so have a listen to this one.
Aliens stole my underpants. To understand the ways of alien beings is hard, and I've never worked it out why they landed in my backyard. And I've always wondered why, on their journey from the stars, these aliens stole my underpants and took them back to Mars. They came on a Monday night when the weekend wash had been done, pegged out on the line to be dried by the morning sun. Mrs. Driver from next door was a witness at the scene when aliens snatched my underpants. I'm glad that they were clean. It seems they were quite choosy, as nothing else was taken. Do aliens wear underpants? Or were they just mistaken? I think I have a theory as to what they wanted them for. They needed to block off a draft blowing in through the spacecraft door. Or maybe some Mars museum wanted items back from space. Just think, my pair of Y-fronts displayed in their own glass case. And on the label beneath would be written where they got 'em, and how such funny underwear once covered an earthling's bottom.
Brilliant, so hopefully you were able to have a chat about comparing those two poems. Now, there was quite a difference, wasn't it? Now, I can probably imagine you were probably listening to that dull version of me reading it. You might have found it quite funny because I was reading it dull, but you know, in hindsight, you don't want a story read to you like that, do you? Because it's going to be boring, you're going to shut off, and it doesn't excite the reader, which is what we want to do when we write our poems. We want to excite the reader and make sure that they read all the way to the end. But what you're going to do now, you've got a quick activity. You're going to answer some comprehension questions, some guided reading questions on that poem. So have a go at that and see if you can answer them. Try answer them in full sentences, but don't worry if you can't. Okay, so have a go at that. Awesome, and super well done on answering your questions for our first poem. Now, what we're going to do is, well, what you are going to do is you are going to read a poem called Alien's Dinner. So instead of me reading it, you're going to read it. Adults at home, if we could try and read this independently and then just jump in if we need help. So if you're reading this at home, you need to remember that somebody else is going to be listening to you. So you don't want to read in a dull, monotone voice like I did, because your adult at home is going to be sitting there going, oh, I really don't want to be here. So read it with some expression, okay? Make them change their mind, go, oh, this is exciting to listen to, okay? So try to read with an expressive voice, and then afterwards you're going to compare the two poems. Which one did you like? Which one did you prefer? Maybe you didn't like both of them. That's absolutely fine, but you need to explain why you didn't like them. You can't just say I didn't like it. There must be a reason, okay? How did the poems make you feel? Okay, so have a chat about that and then come back for our learning objectives at the end. Awesome, a brilliant, well done today. Now we're just going to review our learning objectives to see if we have met these. So, can I listen to a humorous poem? Now we all listen to a humorous poem, so I think everybody can tick that one off. Now, can I discuss and answer questions about a poem? Now we all answered the questions about the poem, but whether we got them right or whether we get them wrong. Can I read a poem? Okay, I'm sure you were all able to read the poem, so I'm sure you can all tick that one off. Can I discuss my preferences and make comparisons? So we all discussed our preferences and we all made comparisons. So I think that we have met most of those, but have a little chat about this one to see if you are able to meet that. But anyway, we will see you on Monday to continue our poetry lesson. So have a great weekend and I'll see you then.